We got into an argument and we had broken up.
Tell me what the argument was about.
It was drinking.
Did he come home drunk?
Yes, ma'am. I told him he had 30 days to move out if he could not come in the house drinking, and that lasted about 5 days.
You have a child?
That is correct.
How old is your child?
She is 8.
This is Judy Justice. Ashley Ford and her mother, Glenda Bruner, are suing Ashley's ex-boyfriend, Chad Tennyson, for travel costs and his share of a vacation package.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Kevin.
Case number 1117, Ford Burner versus Tennyson.
Thank you. Your last name is Ford?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is your mom?
Yes,
And she's technically here because she paid for some part of a trip.
that is correct. Yes.
You could sit down for a
Thank
moment,
you.
please. You two dated for a relatively short period of time. During that short period of time, you did one of the most foolish things that people do when they're just dating. It sort of feels as if it brings them together. You bought what I used to call a timeshare, but this really isn't a timeshare. It's called a vacation package. That's what I read.
That is correct.
You bought it for 2 years, from July of 2019 to July 2021. And you're going to explain to me what it is that you get for that. You know, I allowed my mind to float, and it sort of suggested to me that they had several places around the country where you could go and have a vacation and pay something, but you knew you were going to get that space, that particular, well, 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom, whatever it was. And they were nice places, places that you wouldn't ordinarily go. So far, is that relatively what it is?
Yes, basically.
Yes.
Anyway, to make a long story short, the vacation package lasted longer than the relationship, which is usually the problem. And then there was a whole kerfuffle about who paid and a trip that you were supposed to take that you say he canceled, and that you had to make alternative arrangements and you didn't have enough money. So that's where your mother came in. She paid part of the cost of that trip, so she wants to be reimbursed because you all say that's his fault. He says, me, I didn't do anything. Nothing. Okay, so let's start with Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time you met when, where, and how?
We started talking the end of May 2018. We met about a week later, June 8th, 2018.
Who's your child?
She is 8.
And you, sir, where were you living?
In Boonville.
By yourself?
Yes.
That's not correct, Your Honor. He was living with his mother.
Well, she has Alzheimer's, so take care of her.
You were living in her house?
My house, I was taking care of her.
Is the house owned by your mother or you?
No, me. It was just a rental home that she lived with me.
And she paid the bills for. Sorry.
Don't do that again. Was that what you did as a full-time job to take care of your mom?
Yeah, at that time, yes.
When did you first go on vacation, when you bought this package?
For the package, the first time that I used the vacation package.
No, the first time you went to a place and bought the vacation. You went there in order to buy a vacation
The
package.
week of July 14th, 2019.
You hadn't bought it at that time yet.
That is correct.
Right.
You used to get these things all the time. Come, we'll give you a free weekend or a free night, and then
That's
you
how
go
it
to a
started.
place, and they put you in a room with a lot of other people, and then they show you a video. I've had these cases before. And then before you leave, you oh, that would be so idyllic. We could go travel together. Anyway, it's very good marketing. And so on July 14th, you decided to buy this package. Tell me about the cost of this vacation package. Tell me what the contract was. Do you have the contract?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Did you read all this before you signed it, by the way? I'm just curious.
Not well enough.
I'm just curious. I mean, everybody initialed every single thing, and then you both signed it. I just looked at this briefly. I'll have Sarah look at it over. How much did it cost for the 2 years?
It would end up costing $4,235.20.
So $4,200 for the both of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That you were obligated to pay monthly. Now, there's lots of stuff there with points. You can use points. You get points. What did you get points for?
So it was 400,000 points, and then each resort and each night has a point value.
So if you go to a 5-star place, you use so many points. If you go to a 3-star place, you use so many points.
Basically, yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
How much do you pay monthly?
The payment is $107.84 for the contract.
$107.84 a month for 2 years.
There's also an $1,000 deposit that was included in that.
Okay, so I assume you paid the deposit.
I did.
What?
I paid.
That is not correct.
I assume when I say you, the joint you paid the deposit.
Not that day. We were not aware that we were going to be getting an $1,000 credit card that day.
So it wasn't explained that you were getting a credit card and there were points and whatever. Getting a headache. It's so much easier to call and make a reservation at a hotel and say, I feel like going on vacation today, or next week, or next month, or in 2 months. That's just my idea of freedom. Understand this. People who choose to live together without benefit of marriage should not engage in buying things jointly. A pet, a car, a vacation package, anything, because 50% of the marriages in this country fail, and substantially more relationships fail.
Ashley Ford claims her ex-boyfriend, Chad Tennyson, owes for travel costs and his share of a vacation package they purchased together.
Okay, who paid the deposit? You'd say you do. Tell me, Mr. Tennyson, how you paid the deposit of $1,000.
I gave her the cash.
When?
November.
November of 2019.
Yes.
Be very careful about this answer, Miss Ford. Did Mr. Tennyson give you $1,000?
He did not give me $1,000.
Did he give you any money?
Yes, he did.
How much?
That day that he's talking about, $600. Prior to that, he had deposited $80 into my bank account, and another time he had deposited $75 into my bank account.
80 and 75. So far $755.
That is correct.
That he paid towards the deposit.
Yes, ma'am.
So you put in $245 towards the deposit. He paid $755.
That sounds about right.
Okay. Then you had to pay by month. For how many months did you pay?
I have paid 11 months.
So you paid for 11 months, and the obligation is now terminated,
That is correct, yes.
and the timeshare is over.
Yes, ma'am.
So either somebody is getting sued or he paid the other months.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is it?
He paid the other months.
So he paid the other months.
Yes, ma'am.
So he paid 13 months,
Yes, ma'am.
and the majority of the deposit.
Yes, ma'am.
In what month and year did the two of you break up?
July 2019, about 6 days after.
So now the membership is paid up. You paid less than he did for the deposit,
Yes, ma'am.
and you paid less than he did for the membership,
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
annual membership. So now I'd like you to tell me what you're suing him for.
Absolutely. So,
Because your lawsuit says balance of vacation package. Fine.
And the
Okay, you pay that.
I'll explain. I'm sorry.
There's no explanation. Paid the majority of the.
I wasn't supposed to pay anything. After we broke up, I wanted to cancel the package. We were
You
within
can't-
our 10-day grace period. It's in the
You,
contract.
I guarantee you that you would not have canceled this package.
I called and they stated that.
You can't
I'm sorry,
tell me.
You're right.
You can't tell me if you can show me.
There's a 10-day termination window in the contract. I'll look into it.
While she's looking for that, you broke up in July of 2019, the same month. How many times did you use the vacation package?
A total.
Think
one.
carefully. How many times did you use?
I was actually able to use it one time.
How many times did you use it, sir?
0.
You have any information that Mr. Tennyson used it at all?
He did not use it at all. He had said.
Don't tell me what he said. I'm still not getting what you're suing him for, because right now you have no lawsuit that I'd be interested in.
I understand.
It appears to me that Mr. Tennyson has had zero benefit. He paid for 13 months. He paid the majority of the deposit. So right now, I'm not seeing any basis for a lawsuit. canceled?
So as I said, Your Honor, I wanted to cancel
I
within
don't care
the
whether you did or not. You went
So
on a
he
vacation
said that-
You went on a vacation afterwards.
He said he did not want to cancel the package. He wanted to keep it, and he was going to be responsible for it. I have text messages
Just a
and
second.
voicemail stating.
Just a second. I would like to see if that's the case, unless he acknowledges, did you say to her, I want to keep the package and I'll pay for the whole thing?
Yeah, I said yes, wouldn't do it 50-50 because she couldn't afford
That
it.
is not correct.
No.
He never said 50-50.
That's not what I asked you, sir. What I asked you, Mr. Tennyson, was, did you say to her, after you had broken up, within this cancellation period, did you say to her, keep the package, I'll pay for the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to see. What date did you break up, Mr. Tennyson?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
No, you have to remember. You went on vacation on the 19th.
A week later,
Where were you when you broke up?
at the house,
At whose house?
Ashley's.
Her house.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We got into an argument and we had broken up.
Well, tell me what the argument was about.
It was drinking.
Okay. When you had that argument on the 29th, you were fighting over his drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he drunk?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did he come home drunk?
Yes, ma'am. He came home drunk.
So you told him he had to leave.
Yes, ma'am.
He left the house within 15 days of your signing this contract.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'd like to see the text message.
There's just some of them right there. I have.
Just a second.
Your Honor, there is a 10-day grace period. Cancel.
This is in September. This is well after the cancellation period.
Yes, there were no messages exchanged
okay.
right after then.
Right. So he's paid for 13 months.
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid for 11, and he paid for the majority of the deposit. So I'm not entertaining that. What else do you think he's responsible for? According to you, you went on a trip with your daughter and someone canceled the reservation.
Yes. So, as I said,
Understand this. People who choose to live together without benefit of marriage should not engage in buying things jointly. A pet, a car, a vacation package, a timeshare, a ring, a Picasso, anything, because 50% of the marriages in this country fail, and substantially more relationships fail. So you don't know somebody for a month and then go get a vacation package. He did the right thing. He paid for at least half. I'm not hearing any of it. Do you understand?
yes.
Great. Now, you say that you and your daughter used the points again. You went once and you were using the points again. From when to when?
I scheduled it in February of 2021. Our vacation was supposed to be June 11th through the 17th, 2021.
Okay. And what you say is, on the way there, you were driving there with your daughter to this vacation package, and you were advised once you got there that it was canceled?
No, ma'am. As we were driving, my phone beeped. I looked down, and it was an email stating your reservation was canceled. I pulled over onto the side of the road. I read the email. It stated my reservation was canceled.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am. Email that I received, and I'll go ahead and give you the cancellation policy as well.
No, don't give me a cancellation policy. Just give me the email. Okay, so your reservation, they said, had been canceled. Defendant so far has been a stand-up guy and paying for 13 months of a club he didn't use, that you used, that he paid for 3/4 of the down payment. You paid 1/4 of it. Doesn't sound to me as if he was a cad.
Ashley Ford has accused her ex-boyfriend, Chad Tennyson, of canceling her vacation reservation the day it was starting. Chad claims the cancellation was a mistake made by the resort.
Okay, so your reservation, they said, had been canceled.
Yes, ma'am. So I pulled over to the side of the road, and I called
To you.
Okay, that is fine. So
You got a notice that your reservation was canceled.
got a notice the reservation was canceled. I called and I asked what had happened. They told me. I won't tell
You
you.
can't-
I won't tell you what they told me. So that prompted me to call Mr. Tennyson. I asked him. Can I tell you what he told me in that conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay. In that
He's here, he's a party.
Okay.
He can defend himself.
In that conversation, I asked him how he could cancel our vacation. We're on our way.
Do you remember a phone call that you received from her on the road?
Yeah, she called me.
Okay, I want you to relate to me the conversation. Be very careful to tell me the truth.
Oh, she just accused me right off the bat of canceling, and if I would call Wyndham with her, in which I said I didn't have a problem with doing that.
Did you call Wyndham with her?
No, because she sent me a text message just going straight into an attack about cancellation, so I didn't.
Okay. Did you, Mr. Tennyson, cancel this reservation?
No.
He absolutely
Okay.
did.
Did you know that Miss Ford was going on a vacation and using the package?
No, I had
You got no notice?
no notice, I didn't know anything.
Okay. So the phone call that you got from her in June of this year was the first time you had spoken to her in how long?
6 months, 7 months.
Okay. Now it's your obligation to show me proof that Mr. Tennyson canceled this reservation.
Yes, ma'am. I said that I would give him a call back. I would call Wyndham and ask that he would stay by his phone and answer. I called shortly thereafter and he did not answer. That is when I sent the text stating that he had canceled it, or that I assumed he had canceled it, or was told. This is an
Just a
email.
second. You can't slip it in there. All I want from you is proof. He's been so far relatively honest with me, and he's been relatively fair with you.
Yes, ma'am.
He's paid for a vacation package, more than half of it, that he never used. You and your daughter were at least going to use it twice. So far, aside from the fact that he had, or hopefully had, a drinking problem and no longer has it, that would be smart. I need non-hearsay proof that he canceled this reservation. He says he did not.
This is an email from Wyndham stating...
No,
Sorry,
tell me what it
this is
stated.
with a screenshot from their system.
Don't tell me what it says. Would you bring up your phone, please? Give the phone to Kevin. Kevin, would you hand that phone to Sarah? Sarah, go to June 10th, 2021, 5 perhaps. The thing that's interesting to me, Miss Ford, is that according to what you've given me, at 5:18 p.m., they claim that the reservation was canceled and you were supposed to check in on the 10th.
On the 11th.
And you had made this booking 6 months in advance,
Yes, ma'am.
so it was a long time. And within 8 minutes, they contacted you
I contacted them.
because you had received a cancellation notice.
Yes, ma'am.
So within 8 minutes
ma'am.
of him allegedly calling them, they notified you that the reservation has been canceled. You said, hold it, I didn't cancel that reservation. And the club said to you, I'm sorry, we already gave away that room.
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds suspect to me unless I can find something here from his email account. It is beyond my imagination that within 9 minutes of receiving this cancellation, contacting you, all in that 9-minute period, saying this reservation has been canceled, you pulling over, calling them immediately, saying this is all a mistake, that they gave away your accommodations.
And I can't tell you what
Just
they
a
told
second.
me, can I?
I know you cannot tell me what they told you, because unless she can find something in there, he's not responsible for your vacation. I don't find what he's told me suspect.
But
If I can find some communication with him, that's fine. This is still hearsay, and
why
I
wouldn't I have
don't
gone
have.
up to-
Why?
why wouldn't I
Why?
have gone?
Because it has been somewhat of an experience between myself and family members and friends who have these club arrangements. Things happen and there's double booking. There are problems with reservations. Defendant so far has been a stand-up guy and paying for 13 months of a club he didn't use, that you used, that he paid for 3/4 of the down payment. You paid 1/4 of it. Doesn't sound to me as if he was a cad. So I'm not figuring out why somebody who hadn't spoken to you in 6 months would call and cancel an upcoming reservation that he knew nothing about, unless she can find something in his email. Then
I can
I'm
prove that he
mistaken.
knew about the vacation, not necessarily that one, but whenever I booked the one in October, I never told him about that. He knew about that because I have messages where he was telling me, enjoy the vacation.
I'm not talking about it in October. I'm talking about the following June. You hadn't spoken to him in 6 months.
Right. I can prove a history that he is spiteful and that he is very vindictive and...
Madam, this is not Dr. Phil. It's a court.
I understand.
And so far,
There are emails from the 10th and the 11th, but none regarding the vacation package.
nothing on the 10th. And there are other emails there on the 10th.
Yes.
Okay. Did you finally have a vacation with your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And you paid for it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. The case is dismissed. We're finished here. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
He never takes responsibility for his actions.
She has a right to how she feels.
He denies everything. He constantly goes to insults, mean jabs. He's like a child whenever he's angry.
Just a bunch of jabs. Just childish.
Obviously, don't be stupid and go into any type of a contract with someone that you're not married to.
That defendant had thousands of emails there. Scrolling through took a minute, but there was nothing from Wyndham. There was nothing from the date, and I agree with you that I don't think he would have gone through all of those emails as I did and delete just the one email.
I actually thought what he did, continuing to pay without using the program, knowing that she was using the program, was pretty reasonable. The lesson is never learned. Don't buy a dog. Don't buy a vacation package because you think it's going to all bring you together. It's usually unsuccessful. It's kept me in business for a quarter of a century, but it's really not a smart thing to do.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You were in a relationship. She broke up with you.
Yes.
What appliances did she take when she left the house?
She took the washer, the dryer, and the fridge. I pay for everything.
So what gives you the right to take them?
She kindly offered me for my birthday.
You're a grown-up lady. You're not a baby.
This is Judy Justice. Denise Cruz is suing her ex-girlfriend, Brenda Cardona, for mortgage payments, the cost of appliances, and the balance on a car.
Court come to order.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 1132, Cruz versus Cardona.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cruz, you and Miss Cardona had been friends years ago.
20 years.
And according to what I read, sort of lost touch. Miss Cardona married,
Yes.
but divorced her husband. In what year?
It's been about 4 years almost.
And how long were you married?
About 13 years.
You have kids?
Yes, I do.
How many?
I have twins. My daughter is here. My son is not here today.
After Miss Cardona's divorce, the two of you sort of reconnected. And you reconnected in a romantic way. And you began dating. Shortly thereafter, you purchased another house. You had lived, according to what I remember, at least, you lived in Porter Ranch.
Yes, ma'am.
But you bought another house. Where?
In Paris, California.
Paris?
Paris. P-E-R-R-I-S. Paris.
And that's about how far from Porter Ranch?
It's about an hour and a half.
And Miss Cardona and her family moved into that house. Is that correct?
Yes.
In what year did you move into that house with your children?
2019, about June, mid-June.
And you and Miss Cardona, Miss Cruz, were a couple from when to when?
Well, we started dating in December 15, 2018, until March 21st, 2021.
Then you separated, and you, in fact, told Ms. Cardona that you wanted her to move from the house. She eventually did, several months later.
It was September 26th, I believe, when she moved out.
When did you move out of the house, Ms. Cardona?
I left last month.
So in September?
Yes.
Okay, so your claim is for several things. You claim she still owes money on a car that you purchased that she was paying off. You claim that when she left the house, she took appliances from the house. And you say that she owes for household expenses, which she had been paying, but she stopped paying as of March or April
April 26th.
until she moved out. Miss Cardona says, with regard
Not a gift.
to the car, she says she finished paying it off.
Yes.
And with regard to the household expenses, you've been paying the mortgage, according to you. Is that right?
Yes, I.
Just that's either a yes or a no. And if
Yes.
not, how much was that?
1,400.
Okay. And according to you, you stopped paying the mortgage because you wanted to save money to move.
That is correct.
Well, you can't do that, because if that was your agreement that you pay the mortgage, you have to pay the mortgage. So that's easy. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how many months did you live there without paying the mortgage?
4 months.
Okay. Now let's deal with the appliances. What appliances did she take when she left the house?
She took the washer, the dryer, and the fridge, Your Honor.
Who paid for them?
I pay for everything, yes. I have the receipts from Costco. I bought them from
Is it
Costco.
correct, Ms. Cardona, without my looking at her receipts, that the plaintiff paid for the washer, dryer, and the refrigerator?
Half of it, yes.
She only paid half.
Yes. I paid her already half.
How much did you give her towards your half?
I gave her 1,200
For what?
for the washer, dryer, and fridge that she kindly offered me for my birthday.
Oh, listen, I don't want to hear kindly
Okay.
offered you for your birthday.
Yes.
I don't want to hear kindly offered you for your
Okay.
birthday. So what gives you the right to take them?
Again, it was a gift that
No,
she gave
it wasn't
me.
a gift. It wasn't a gift if you paid for half of it. If you split the cost of the washer and dryer, then, if I believe that,
Yes.
then you have to pay her for half of the cost of the washer and dryer. You don't just take them with you.
After we broke up, I was going to pay her the rest, but she kicked me out of the house with my kids, and I didn't have money to give her the half, but I agree with her that I was going to give her payments.
That's a lot of doublespeak. You want to doublespeak? I suggest, how old are you?
18.
It's embarrassing to doublespeak in front of your daughter, because the doublespeak that you're giving me was the other half she kindly gave me as a gift, and then you just told me I didn't have the money to give her the other half. I was going to make it for her in payments. So that's two different things that you just told me. Am I crazy? Do you understand? One defense. Either it was a gift,
It
which
was
I'm going to
a
ask
gift.
for, or, well, then what was this? I was going to
It
pay her
was a
half,
gift,
but I didn't have the
once
money.
we broke up, she charged me for those appliances once we broke up.
She broke up with you. It was her house. Sure, it was a good deal for you and your children because we were paying for the mortgage. That's
Yes.
it. But what did you expect her to do? You're no longer in a relationship. What did you think she should do? Give you the house?
I
Just
never
a
asked.
second.
I never
What-
asked for
what-
that.
what did so she told you she wanted you out of the house.
Yes.
You didn't leave the house.
I paid the mortgage up to May.
May.
Was the last
Okay.
time that I paid.
So you stayed,
May.
but you broke up in March. So you had didn't get a marshal to come to throw you out with your children.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stopped paying the mortgage because you wanted to save up money.
I didn't have money to leave at that moment,
Okay.
Judge Judy. I didn't have money.
When you say I didn't have money, if you said to me and said to her, I want to be able to save some money before I move out because we've been here for several years.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you half of the mortgage, but not to do anything because you wanted to save money. Who was supposed to pay the mortgage? While you and your girls were living. She's not related to you. You still have the appliances?
Yes.
You wash your clothes in the washing machine, you dry them in the dryer, you put food in the refrigerator. You have to pay for that. You're a grown-up lady. You have two 18-year-olds. You're not a baby.
And later today,
She could do whatever she wants with her property. You're on a month-to-month tenancy. If you don't like that she's going to build additional units that she has a right to build in the back of her house, move!
Denise Cruz claims her ex-girlfriend, Brenda Cardona, owes for the cost of appliances, and the balance on a car.
Who was supposed to pay the mortgage when you didn't? I don't know whether she has a mortgage on her other house. Do your daughters work?
No,
Do you work?
I don't.
Who was supposed to pay the mortgage? She works. So you have to pay her. The months you didn't pay is $5,600. Is that correct? $5,600. You have to pay for the mortgage. Now let's get to the car. No, appliances. Did she agree to pay for half the appliances?
Yes, Your Honor. I even
Yeah, I
have
see.
a text in here of May 18th, and she's saying, "Okay, fair enough, Denise. I'll pay as I
Hold on.
always do," but she never did.
What was the $3,845.54 for?
The 3845 was the money that she owed for the car and the appliances.
She says, okay, fair enough, Denise. I will pay you as I always do. Have a blessed day. That was May 19th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as of May, you agreed that you owed her $3,845.54 because you say, okay, fair enough,
Yes.
Denise, I will pay you as always.
Yes, basically.
Not basically. Basically is a filler word. Any money that you sent to her after May 18th, I will look at. That's either an I sent nothing or here it is.
No,
Don't-
I have the proofs here that I don't own her anything besides the other half of the appliances.
Just pay careful attention to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to see any payments that you
None.
Then you owe her $3,845. Now, after May, you did not pay the mortgage that you were supposed to pay, and you live there. That's an additional $5,600. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's $94.45. Now, people break up all the time. Half the marriages in this country fail. Put down your papers. She's not responsible for you. She's not responsible for your children. I understand that you work and that you have children as a responsibility, but you are not her responsibility. So it's a debt. Do you still have the car? Just put your hand down. Do you still have the car?
Yes.
You drive around the car?
Yes.
Okay. And you still have the appliances?
Yes.
You wash your clothes in the washing machine, you dry them in the dryer, you put food in the refrigerator, you took them, even though, according to you, you only paid for half of them. You have to pay for that. You're a grown-up lady. You have two 18-year-olds. You're not a baby. $94.45, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Court is adjourned.
I broke up with her. She paid until she got somebody else. Started dating someone and she couldn't handle that and then she stopped paying. She cannot move on. Everything went sour after that.
Sarah, they appear to be two nice women, and you had to be somewhat sympathetic with the defendant. She was trying to do her, her best. She's got two kids. They had an agreement, even though it wasn't a written agreement. Fortunately, sometimes texts work.
Yeah.
Memorializing what your agreement is, even if you don't do it by a formal contract, the text that you wrote to her and said, this is what you owe. And she said, I agree. I will pay you as always. Have a blessed day. Was enough of a contract to acknowledge that there was a debt. If you can somehow memorialize an agreement, and not just a one-way agreement, not this is what you owe me, but there needs to be a response, an acknowledgement of that debt, that would usually work.
Yeah, you're going to be held to that.
Case number 1112, Fawcett, Hester versus Balwani. All parties please step forward.
Lauren Fawcett and Patrick Hester are suing their former landlord, Sahel Bawani, for breaching their lease, a security deposit, property damage, and a utility bill.
You're Patrick Hessler.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is your wife. And you were tenants of a duplex that is owned by the defendant from 2016 until recently.
Late 2015 until May 2021.
And I assume that you were on, after your initial lease, on a month-to-month lease?
Correct, Your Honor.
You're suing the defendant for a whole bunch of things. For money, one. Number two, the return of security deposit. You may have an issue with regard to that. Property damage, and the rest is a utility bill, which I'm not dealing with at all. Okay, so this is what I gather from your complaint. You had a month-to-month lease. You were good tenants. You initially had a 12-month lease that turned into a month-to-month tenancy. So far accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that means that you could move out given 30 days notice, which would be nice, and she could tell you to get out on notice. Same 30 days. That sound reasonable to you?
Yes.
Sure. And this place had a yard. Somebody have a picture of it to show me?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd love to take a look at it. Okay, so this is the basic story. The county or whatever governmental authority gave the defendants the right to build additional units in the back of the property, which she wanted to do. She wanted to exercise her right to do that, which is her right. And she could have said to you, it's been nice knowing you. I'm adding units to my property, so you can either stay or go during the construction. It's going to take a year, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't own the property.
Correct.
You're renters, not even with a lease. So part of the thing that had to go was a tree in the backyard. And you didn't want the tree to go because that's where you get shade and your kids like to play. I don't know what it was. So she sent people over to remove the tree to start the process of constructing on her property something that would add additional value to her property. So far, am I missing anything?
No.
No. So raise your hand. Who was the one who interfered with them taking down the tree at first? Either of you? That would be you. And then they finally did take down the tree. Somebody called the police. I don't know who that was. Raise your hand if you called the police. That would be you. Police said you can't stop them from taking down the tree. It's their property. Did you find anything unusual about that?
It was our understanding with the initial lease that we signed and that we understood that we were...
I don't care what you understood. I don't care what was in your mind. She could do whatever she wants with her property. You're on a month-to-month tenancy. If you don't like that she's going to build additional units that she has a right to build in the back of her house, move! There are tenants' rights and there are landlords' rights. And she doesn't have to leave property that she has fallow if she can generate income from her property because you like a shade tree. Well, that's why they kept your security deposit, because you didn't pay rent. You lived there. Yourself, your wife, your kids, you lived there.
Lauren Fawcett and Patrick Hester say their former landlord, Sahel Bawani, owes for breaking their lease, property damage, and the return of their security deposit.
Now, your first cause of action is for a breached lease. First of all, you had no lease. You had a month-to-month tenancy. So what lease did she breach?
The way that we read the law when we had talked to a few people that gave us some guidance on the matter said that the lease would be the initial lease that we signed.
So you think every month you had another year?
No, just the terms of that lease.
Okay. Who did you speak to initially and when about the addition that the defendant wanted to put on the property?
Spoke with her husband.
Okay, you spoke with her husband. That would be you.
That would be me.
In what month?
I can't recall, Your Honor.
What month?
January 25th to be exact.
January 25th, 2021?
Yes.
When did you move out?
May 31st.
Okay, so 4 months later.
Correct, Your Honor.
So you were advised by your landlord that they were going to build these additional units 4 months before you moved. So now you had 30 days notice of that, right? When you spoke to her husband, did he in fact say to you, for any inconvenience that you had during construction, if you wanted to stay during the construction, he would reduce your rent? Did he say that to you?
Yes, and I
Yeah,
asked him.
just a second. The answer is, he told you he was building these things, and he said, you have a choice. You can either stay, and I'll reduce your rent by $400, or you can go. Which means February 25th, 2021. What did you tell him when he said, I will reduce your rent if you choose to stay?
I said I need to talk to my wife.
Did you talk to your wife?
No, I didn't get to talk to my wife because she was having medical issues going on.
Just a second. Baloney. Did he also say to you, you are an electrician by trade?
Yes.
Did he also say to you, not only will I reduce your rent, but I'll let you do the electrical work for the new units?
Yes, he offered.
Yes. The answer is yes. He said, I'll reduce your rent for the inconvenience. I'll also, for the inconvenience, because you've been good tenants, I will offer you the contract to do the electrical work on the new units that I'm going to put in. He didn't have to do any of that for you. He could have tacked the 30-day notice on your door and said vacate in 30 days. Be gone by March 1st. They chose not to do that. Now, return of security deposit. How much security deposit did you give them?
$2,000.
And that was in 2016?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much?
We returned $250
Why?
because they didn't pay us the last month's rent.
Oh. What was their rent?
So the reduced rent, I believe we'd already, since we'd taken that tree down, we decided we would go ahead and reduce the rent as promised that they had agreed to.
So what was their reduced rent?
$1,700.
And it had been $2,100.
Yes.
And according to you, you moved out May 31st.
Correct.
Did you pay May's rent?
No, Your Honor.
Well, that's why they kept your security deposit, because you didn't pay rent. You lived there. Yourself, your wife, your kids. You lived there and you didn't pay rent. What were they supposed to do? How were they supposed to get their rent? I don't know. You do have a claim here for property damage. And the property damage that you allege was a broken trampoline.
Yes, Your Honor.
So let me see the trampoline that you are alleging that they broke. When you say they broke it, do you know who broke it?
The tree contractors.
Okay. And the tree contractor broke this
Correct.
and this,
Yes.
made holes in it.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you notify them that this was broken by the tree contractor?
Yes, Your
Did you
Honor.
notify them?
Yes.
When did you notify them?
I believe it was the same day that the trees.
Did they notify you that the tree contractor had damaged their trampoline?
Yes, Your Honor, but we notified them prior to the tree contractor coming to remove anything that might get into the way of the tree contractor.
They did
Explain that to me.
I'm sorry, and I believe they
not.
didn't.
No, they did not notify us.
They didn't notify us that it was damaged, but prior to that, we did notify them to remove any property that might be theirs that might be in the way.
Do you have any proof by way of communication, text message, letter, that you notified them to remove this trampoline because the tree was going to come down? Do you have any proof of that? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, but it's through text message.
That's okay.
Okay.
I do text messages.
Also, Your Honor, prior to even asking them to remove the trampoline, they're not supposed to have a trampoline per insurance reasons because it's a dangerous item on our premise and it could hurt our tenant. So we had asked them to remove the trampoline to begin with.
Is it correct that they asked you to remove the trampoline? They have.
It is correct.
Just a
Yes.
second.
Sorry.
When did they ask you to remove the trampoline?
Before the tree was cut down, Your Honor.
Okay, your case is dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
I feel relieved. This was so stressful for us.
She made it, that's it, and move forward.
Single time it was like more money, more money, more money.
We tried, and that's it.
We had to place all of that on hold because of this situation, but we're going to move forward.
You know, Sarah, most landlords are in business. They own property. They want to keep it in good shape. These were perfectly lovely people, perfectly reasonable people. They gave the people who had lived there for 5 years alternatives.
More than reasonable. Offered them the contract to make money in his own business
Right.
as an electrician.
Or they could move in 30 days.
Yeah.
So they stayed. They didn't pay their last month's rent. And then they sued them for thousands and thousands of dollars.
For something that they were way within their rights to do as property owners.
And it's probably because, she says, we asked a few people.
Yeah.
Well, that's ridiculous. Landlords have rights. Tenants have rights. But courts have to be in the middle. And I don't know when that happened, that the word landlord became synonymous with evil or used in the pejorative. And it's really too bad. You can't pigeonhole people. That's what these plaintiffs tried to do. They didn't.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
saw his dog attack yours,
I was walking outside the back door, and then within like 2 seconds, I mauled him. He was crying, he was hurt, in a lot of pain.
Nope, this never happened.
I didn't hear anything. No yelping, no screaming, no nothing.
I don't care what you heard. Are you telling me both you and your father are idiots?
This is Judy Justice. Jason and Ashley Eade are suing their landlord, Michaela Farias, and her father, Michael Farias, for vet bills and an unlawful eviction.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 89, Eade versus Ferris. Welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Eade, are you still living in the house where you were living and renting from the defendant?
We are.
And you're still living there after a decision by the housing court?
Correct.
Okay. Who owns the house? You do. And this is your dad?
Correct.
And you used to be friends?
Correct.
When you bought the house, and what year was that?
2020, so November 18th is when I closed on the house.
And the house is a multi-dwelling?
Correct.
How many families live in the house?
3.
You, the plaintiffs, and you rent to someone else. Is that right?
Correct.
And do the other people that you rent to have the same size apartment that the plaintiffs do?
Correct.
And what do you charge the other person for rent?
The unit upstairs is $900 a month.
And how much is your rent?
$875.
So you got a $25 a month friend's discount.
Correct.
This case has to do with a dog.
Yes.
You have a small dog.
That's correct.
Your dog is a Chihuahua?
Correct.
And you have a larger dog. You have a larger dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
I have also 2 dogs myself.
Okay. What kind of dogs do you have?
They're both Akitas.
And your 2 dogs and the plaintiff's dogs, I assume since you were friends, get along.
They never really associated.
Well, that's not possible. I mean, I have dogs. I have a son that has big dogs. There are times when they're all together. They may not love each other, and the big dogs may say, I don't want this little one around me, and go into another room. But they've been together.
Correct.
Yes.
We've gone to the dog park together.
Yeah. So let's not think of what is good for your case. Let's just think about accuracy. Got it?
Correct.
Now, it is your claim that Mr. Farias was visiting with his daughter.
That's correct.
You don't live there.
No.
And he brought his dog for the visit. According to you, you and your dad were working, doing some renovations inside the house. The back door was open, and your dog is what kind of a dog?
A pit bull?
Okay. Now,
No.
was your dog inside with your daughter's 2 dogs?
Yes, Your Honor.
And they get along?
Yes, Your Honor.
And there's no question that you know that the plaintiffs are tenants of your daughters.
Yeah, I know that they're tenants of my daughters, yes.
Yes, of course. And it did say in your answer that you left the back door open so the dogs could go in and out freely.
Yes.
And you understood, Miss Farias, that your father's dog, while your 2 dogs had been in contact with the plaintiff's Chihuahua, his dog had not.
Yes.
You knew that. Now, this incident happened on April 18th of 2021.
Correct.
And your dog, according to you, was injured on that day.
That is correct.
Tell me what happened.
So I was inside. I only heard the commotion. My husband was the one who witnessed it, so he would be more inept to describe it for you.
So I was walking outside the back door. I saw her 2 Akitas out back.
So the 2 Akitas were outside?
Correct.
And is this backyard a fenced backyard?
Correct.
Don't show me pictures. It's a fenced yard.
Yes.
So you let your dog out with the 2 Akitas?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Within like 2 seconds of walking down these 2 steps that go into my backyard, Mello came from the other side of like their apartment, but I didn't see him at all, and mauled him. It just happened so fast I can't get the image out of my head.
Did you ever see the father's dog before?
Yes.
Where?
At his house.
At his house or Miss Farias's house?
Both.
Both houses.
Both. When was the last time you saw Mr. Farias's dog?
At their house, we were there for an event.
When you say it's
No, he's been over to the new place since Michaela bought the house with Mello. So it might have been a month, a few weeks before.
Okay, but the 2 dogs had not been together.
Correct.
Correct.
So when you saw Mr. Farias's dog attack yours, you did what?
I screamed, Mello, drop him, Mello, drop him. And he dropped him after like the second or third time I did it. And then I picked up my dog, and that's when he snapped at my face because he was crying. He was hurt in a lot of pain. And I went into my house, in my apartment, and
I met him right at the door.
she was right out the door because she wanted to know what was all the crying. And I told her what happened, that Mello attacked my dog, and then we rushed right out of the apartment.
And straight to the vet. We texted the landlord, Michaela, that her father's dog.
Do you have the vet report?
Yes. It's going to be in this pile.
How old is your pit bull?
4 years.
Okay, these are extensive medical records.
Those are the records for every appointment that we've had, follow-up since the attack.
And what was the total vet bill for your dog?
With the vet bills, the medication costs, it comes to $4,841. After we tried contacting Michael...
Doctor, whatever it is you did, I just want to find out whether you received any funds from the GoFundMe page.
From the GoFundMe, we received $626.32 after the GoFundMe fees were assessed. This is money that people donated to us. They should not be responsible for those.
Just a second. Don't tell me what they should be. I'm just asking you. Made a GoFundMe page and asked for help in paying these vet bills, and you managed to collect $626 from, or a little bit more, from good-natured people who understood that this was a big bill for you, people that you didn't know. Unless your daughter is a really poor judge of character. You're saying that she is?
Yes,
Just a
I am.
second. Just a second. Are you saying that she is? Well, that's
Your Honor, yes, I am.
well, that's a slap in the face to your daughter.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Jason and Ashley Eade claim their landlord, Michaela Farias, and her father, Michael Farias, owe for vet bills after their Chihuahua was attacked by Michael's pit bull.
Now, let's start with this. You do understand that I understand that all these dogs were out, unleashed, and unmonitored. That a fair statement?
Aside from our dog.
Just a second. Your dog was unleashed and was roaming freely around the backyard.
No, he never got to that point. He got off the steps and was attacked by Michael's pit bull.
Well, you don't know that because you didn't see it.
Well, that is what happened.
That's what I heard behind the door.
That's what I was saying.
And he was physically there.
So what you're saying is the dog never got beyond
The two-step.
it was at the bottom of the two steps.
Correct.
Okay. In any case, your dog was a visiting dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm just letting you know that you are responsible for these vet bills if I find that your dog caused injury to theirs.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
Yes.
It would not be the same if it were your daughter's two dogs, because that was a risk that they assumed because the dogs had played outside in the backyard together, according to you.
Correct.
So if they got into a scuffle, that was sort of an assumption of the risk that a big dog can hurt a small dog.
Correct.
But your dog doesn't live there.
Yes, Your Honor.
They don't have to assume that you're visiting.
Correct, Your Honor.
And if you are visiting, you have a responsibility to keep your dog in check.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you knew that they have a small dog. Your defense to this is that the incident never happened. That's what you wrote. Somebody want to stick up for that? That this incident never happened? That they took the dog immediately over to the vet after this incident, and that what the vet wrote in his report, that there was no weight bearing on one of the limbs because it had a compression as a result of being bitten or perhaps just picked up.
This happened, okay? I was putting together a snap-together floor in my daughter's kitchen, okay? So there was no power tools being used. None of that stuff was being used, okay? It just, you pop it together and that's it. There's no noise, there's none of that. I didn't know that any of this even took place, all right? The door was open. I didn't hear anything. No yelping, no screaming, no nothing. You're talking about a 60-pound pit bull versus a 6-pound chihuahua. Her boyfriend comes downstairs. He says, Jason just called me and said, Mello bit Kendrick. I was like, what? I said, get out of here. I thought he was playing with me. I literally thought he was playing with me.
Where was your daughter?
I was upstairs.
She was upstairs.
Your daughter was upstairs.
Yes.
You were downstairs.
Yes.
What was the back door doing open?
For the dogs were roaming in and out of the house.
At will, without bothering anybody to go out.
Correct. But what I'm saying is I heard nothing, no yelp,
Who
no
cares
anything.
what you heard? You know these people a long time. They were friends of your daughter's for a long time.
They've been in my house. They played with my dog.
Just a second. You know these people for a long time. They've been to your house. You've been to their house before this incident.
Yes, Your Honor.
For how many years?
Oh,
3, 4,
Yep.
maybe.
Almost 4.
3 or 4?
I've only known them for probably 2 or 3, but
2 or 3 years. Your daughter knew them well enough and like them well enough to invite them and give them a family and friends discount to move into the house. She liked them. I would have assumed if she bought this house in 2020 that she would have not allowed people to move into her house, invited them to move into the house if she thought that they were liars or scammers or storytellers or looking to make a fast buck, unless your daughter is a really poor judge of character. You're saying that she is?
Yes,
Just
I
a
am.
second. Just a second. Are you saying that she is?
Yes, Your Honor, yes,
Well, that's a slap in the face to your daughter.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Okay, well, that's a slap in the face to your daughter. I want to tell you something. I don't care what you heard. What is common sense is that that's what happened. And the fact that you didn't hear it in the law doesn't mean a damn thing. Now, this happened in April
Correct.
of 2021.
Yes.
And they had been living in the house since November or December of 20?
Yep. December.
Yep is not an answer.
Your Honor.
Did they pay rent in December?
Yes, they did.
January?
Yes, they did.
February?
Yes, they did.
March?
Yes, they did.
April?
Yes, they did.
So they paid rent in April before this incident happened. Then they presented you with a vet bill. In what month did they present you with a vet bill?
They never presented us with any bill.
Did they ever discuss with you paying for the vet?
They called asking for our homeowner's insurance.
Not ours, your homeowner insurance.
Well, they asked both of us for our separate homeowner's insurance.
Well, he can't get homeowner's insurance if he owns a pit bull in all probability. What?
Your Honor, in Rhode Island, they make you get a special type of insurance for vicious dogs if you own a home.
But her dogs aren't categorized as vicious dogs.
I'm not clear on that in the state of Rhode Island.
Are they? Do you know? The answer is you don't
not
know.
know.
Okay. Could you look up, Sarah, just for my own information, pit bulls and Akitas, state of Rhode Island, homeowners insurance, see what you can find while I'm continuing with this anyway. Mr. Farias, I don't care whether you heard it or not. You're responsible for what happens with your dog. And if you let your father be there with his dog, you're the homeowner, you are likewise responsible. They asked you for your homeowner's insurance, and you said what when they
I
asked
said this never happened.
you? Okay, so you said this never
I need-
happened.
yes.
And you said the same thing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see, other than your statement that I didn't hear anything, I'd like to see what evidence that you have. I heard the story, I read the vet report, and I read vet information and follow-up. I'd like to see, other than your, I didn't hear anything, I'd like to see any evidence.
Well, Your Honor, we do have the police report here.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor, pit bulls and Akitas are considered high risk in the state of Rhode Island for insurance purposes.
Thank you. Do you have homeowner's insurance?
I do.
Do you have special insurance for the Akitas?
I'd have to look, but I didn't own my dogs at the time of purchasing the house.
Your Honor, that's a
Just
lie.
shh.
I didn't own
Shh, 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 shh. Would you not interrupt again? Great. I'm telling you this now. You have two Akitas. They're on the list in Rhode Island. You have to advise your insurance company. Your rates will go up accordingly. Somebody is watching because somebody's going to tag this case and say, you know what? I live near her. Something happens with one of her dogs. She's vulnerable. I could own her house. It's a nice house. Do you understand?
Correct. Yes, I do.
Well, I would take care of it if I were you. That's not funny. It's not funny. Are you telling me that both you and your father are idiots? You own a home, you hired a lawyer, and what you're telling me is you paid the lawyer because there was a hearing, and you never asked for a copy of the papers?
Jason and Ashley Eade are accusing their landlord, Michaela Farias, and her father, Michael Farias, of causing injuries to their dog after Michael's pit bull attacked their chihuahua.
Now, they paid December, January, February, March, and April's rent. You filed for an eviction when?
I started the process on June, and they were served.
June what?
June 8th was when they were
Six,
served.
just a second.
July 8th. My apologies.
Who filed the papers?
My lawyer did.
So you hired a lawyer?
I did.
On what date?
So the date was May 21st of 2021.
So April's. Did you tender May's rent?
Yes.
In what form?
I believe it was a check issued directly from my bank to the defendant.
Is that the way you paid rent in December, January, February, March, and April? A direct bank check?
That's correct.
Did you receive direct bank checks from their bank for December, March, April?
Yes.
was a check tendered to you from the bank in May.
Yes.
Did you cash it?
Yes.
So they paid May's rent.
They did.
You filed an eviction, May 21. May I see the papers that you filed? No, I want to see the papers that you filed.
So the constable would have given it to them.
No. You had a lawyer. Get me a copy.
Because of COVID, I never met the lawyer. It was all via telephone.
The lawyer sent you copies of the papers.
No, they did not. They sent it to the plaintiffs.
Are you telling me that both you and your father are idiots? You own a home, you hired a lawyer, and what you're telling me is you paid the lawyer because there was a hearing, and you never asked for a copy of the papers?
So I have the notice of termination of tenancy. I have it via email.
I want to see
I have
it.
a physical copy if you'd like.
And you can take her copy while you're there.
That's the original.
Well, this doesn't say the ground. This is a notice of termination of tenancy. What was the reason you were evicting them?
Just incident after incident, I just couldn't deal with the headache in the house anymore, so I went through the correct channels of doing the eviction legally.
Your Honor, I have proof that this was all in retaliation. I'd like to present it to you.
May I see it, please?
This is a notice that we
Of course it was.
received
Of course it
from
was.
the defendant on May 4th, letting us know
Jason,
that our restriction
Don't
were
speak.
no longer...
Don't speak. Did you go to trial on this case?
We went to court and the two lawyers settled.
Okay. Can I see the notice of settlement?
Yep, this is our carbon copy that we were provided.
You have any other documentation from the housing court?
I do not know.
Okay, so the rent and use occupancy damages to be determined at a later date. Execution of the notice of eviction is stayed until October 1st.
That's correct.
That was the decision of the court. Did you pay rent in July?
Yes.
June, of course.
That is correct.
August?
That is correct.
You accepted the rent?
No, I'd never received any.
See your bank statement, please.
So these are two carbon copies of the checks for July and August, and the first two are the proof of the FedEx UPS check for July. The carbon copies are for August and September.
So I'm going to tell you this. I think that she did, in fact, file notice of eviction in retaliation for this incident. You're requesting $4,800, which is a difference of $600 for filing this eviction process. And I'm going to grant you $4,800 with one caveat. I'm going to say to you that this is a small property. And it would seem to me that the two of you would try very hard to extricate yourself from the defendant's home and find another place to live. Have you been looking?
We already have a place secured.
Great. And when does that start?
October 1st. We're moving out September 30th from the location we're at now.
Very good. All right. Because I don't see people living under these circumstances in a house. Where you used to be friends, you're no longer friends, actually, less than friends. So I'm very glad that you found someplace else to live. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,800. We're done. Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
First off, that dog was a rescue dog. It already had injuries.
Dog was never injured. Never injured. He actually came from a family of ours, like family members.
They don't tell you in a vet report whether they're old injuries or new injuries. They dog just had injury.
Neither of them like to take responsibility for their own actions.
They love to lie.
I'm not saying that there wasn't nothing wrong with the dog. There was already something wrong with the dog because it was a rescue dog.
It brought tears to my eyes. It's like a child to us. So our dog is our child.
And the way he comes off, he could have injured the dog coming out because not earlier in that day, he backed into my daughter's car, so we thought she was going to go after him anyway.
No.
We came close to their car. Never exactly happened.
Yeah, good riddance. That's the best you can go at it.
He'll always have an issue now going forward, but he's still our rambunctious little boy.
So when I looked at the list of high-risk dogs for you, I was surprised by some of the dogs that were on the high-risk list for insurance companies. And even beyond that, I didn't know that if you have one of these high-risk dogs, which I think might be different for every state, and you don't disclose that to your insurance company, if a situation like this happens, your insurance will deny your claim. So it's really important that people, if they have any breed of dog really, just to check the list to make sure they're not failing to disclose to their insurance money.
Because if a freak accident happens, you
They're
may
not
lose your
covered.
house. You'll lose your house.
Yeah, risky business.
Yeah, risky business.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.